Can I please have your full name?
My name is Songhyun Park.
Okay, nice to meet you, Songhyun. Let's start off with the topic of achievements. Have you had any achievements recently?
Recently, wow, that's a good question. Achievement. Well, I am just launched my YouTube channel. I'm not going to reveal the name of the channel for sure. But yeah, I've learned the editing skills and how to make thumbnail, how to research keywords and all that. So I'm kind of excited to start my own channel, so social media channels, and I don't think it's a major success yet. It's just the beginning of a long journey, but I think I would consider a good milestone that, and I want to continue to work on it and maybe hit a bigger goal in the future. Yeah.
I see. How do you feel when you are praised or complimented?
That's a good question. That's a funny question. Well, of course it feels good. Depends on the compliment and praise for sure. But I try to hide how I genuinely like it. But I think sometimes it just shows up on my facial expressions, and my tone, my voice changes. So, well, but I think in Korea, I don't know if it's still true or not, but being humble about your success and achievement, I think it's still considered as a virtue or like a nice gesture. So I try to hide it. I don't really admit it fully, but I appreciate the person for the compliment and praise.
I see. When was the last time that you praised someone?
Since I was working as a English teacher in Korea, so I was dealing with many children, and now I regret that I was not really generous with my compliment and recognizing their achievements. But then remember, there were moments when I sort of pushed myself to give more compliment and encouraging my students, and yeah, I would say that.
I see. Do you think that parents should often praise and encourage their children?
I believe so. Yeah. So while being a teacher, I read quite a lot about the psychology of development and how to motivate your students, and I realized the power of positive reinforcement. I think it's a real thing. So I also have a real life case where I saw a slow, students that are sort of behind the class level, but then I intentionally gave him extra compliment and recognized his small achievements. A few weeks later, he started showing rapid growth, and he started showing more proactive attitudes, and at the end, a few months later, he really significantly improved his performance and understanding everything. So I think compliment it's really important if you're a parent or a teacher, like a leader in any type of situations. I think leading by praise and encouraging messages I think it's far better than pointing out problems and then blaming, I think.
I see. Have you ever been praised or encouraged by your teachers?
When was the last time I was a student? Well, yeah, I was a student back in New Zealand, and yeah, I remember, different teachers have different personalities. So I remember a particular teacher. She was a Kiwi, and she was very generous. She was funny, has a good sense of humor, but then she was not really stingy with her compliment. And yeah, even though it was not a noticeable achievement or success, I remember she was trying to uplift the mood of the class and pointing out at like each student and like recognizing what they did well and stuff like that.
Okay, excellent. We're staying on the whole positivity theme. So we're gonna do our part 2 question. Describe an occasion when somebody gave you positive advice or suggestions about your work or study. So, yeah, so there's your question. You can take a minute to prepare, and then I'll let you know when you can answer it.
My work or study.
Okay. Yep, when you're ready.
Okay, so an occasion when someone gave me positive advice or suggestions. So I was working as an English teacher, and one time I was working teaching online. It was a English education company. So I was working in this kind of studio because it was online teaching platform, and we had a weekly meeting. And one time our boss suggested, hey guys, what about you sort of have a meeting where you sit down together and watch yourself teaching, because all the classes were recorded. So we have the videos of ourselves teaching our classes. And then it was my turn. Well, it was like a group of 6, 7 teachers watching me teaching my students. It's quite embarrassing. So it was not a very most pleasant experience, you can imagine. And at the end of the point of the meeting was that we share feedback for each other, because we could improve the quality of our class. Right, that was the point. And the people, my coworkers, were kind of hesitant to share their views on my class. And one started by saying, hey, everything was good, but you get too carried away when you're emotionally engaged. When teaching online can be very frustrating because the communication is not as direct.
You're talking to a wall.
Yeah, and you're dealing with kids, so there's a lot of massive barrier, and the frustrations comes through during teaching. I was not aware of what I was doing, but then when they started pointing out very gently, though very compassionately, and I was able to catch that the next class, and that really helped.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there.
No worries.
But yeah, let's keep that theme. You talked about people's comments, your colleagues commenting on your teaching. Do you think people care about others' comments about them?
That's a great question. People, depending on the context, people have to pretend they care, right? Whether it's coming from your boss or advisor, investor, you have to pretend, you have to act, right? To use your social skills. But what I noticed is that your ego kicks in. Your ego gets in the way. Even when the advice or comments are really helpful and useful for your growth and development, whatever, you get defensive about those comments, right? And you deny, but you pretend to listen. So I think I'm trying to stay humble, but which is very difficult, especially when the comments or feedback are mean or delivered in an aggressive or unfriendly way. But then I'm training myself to take the important elements of the feedback, not the packaging or whatever, how it's delivered. So I think it's really depends on your personality, how mature you are emotionally. If you're psychologically developed enough, then you can have an awareness when your ego kicks in. Okay, probably this is my defense mechanism. I should let that guard down and accept the feedback, and then just move on. You don't have to get too emotionally worked up or upset about it. I think that's how it.
What do you think is more important for adults in the workplace? Positive feedback or negative feedback?
positive feedback. Let's keep the positive momentum going. I think, I mean, I also working for a corporate setting before, and I realized, it's stressful. Like you're dealing with the company has to keep making revenue, and there's a lot of elements that give you pressure and anxiety. And if your coworkers or boss are adding more pressure on top of that, very, very stressful, frustrating. You don't feel motivated to work harder. So at least there are many elements, but at least I believe that in terms of a human interaction and communication between your coworkers and stuff, I think it's better to stay positive and to keep the positive moods up. But still the sort of what is the word? The message that feedback has to be delivered, but it doesn't have to be delivered in a sort of with more compassion, empathy. Communication has to be done to get the work done, but you don't have to bring so much emotion or your personal feelings towards it.
I see. Why is negative feedback as important as positive feedback?
Are you saying negative feedback is, say again, please?
Yeah, so the question here is, why is negative feedback as important as positive feedback at work or in study? Do you agree with it or do you disagree with it?
I do not really agree to the statement, but if I had to argue that negative feedback can be as important as positive feedback, is that people get used to your generosity or kind attitude. Some people take advantage of it. So if your boss is too soft, it's not really straightforward. And some employees, I think, maybe they don't work as hard as they could, because they know their boss is not going to come up to them and say, demand, right? So in such a case, I think being a little bit more negative is not the right word, being more straightforward and commanding, or sort of a little bit of assertiveness would help for the employees to bring more performance or productivity into his or her workplace. So in that sense, I think, negativity might, be useful.
Okay, now we get to the scoring part.
Oh, yeah.
I tried my best to find mistakes, but I gave up. You didn't really make any mistakes whatsoever. Grammar was extremely good. Your pronunciation is extremely good. Your choice of words, really, really good. Your vocab, you used words like virtue and positive reinforcement. You used the right expressions, and your fluency was obviously really good as well. So depending on the level of strictness of your examiner, you're either going to score a 8.5 or a 9. I think the only place where, if I really had to try and find fault with your responses, I think on 1 or 2 occasions you maybe repeated yourself or you self-corrected. Personally, that's not something that would bother me too much. I think you showed all the skills necessary to score in the highest band. If you have an examiner who is a bit of a nitpicker, they might bring you down half a band for that. They might score you at an 8.5 level, but personally I think you showed every part of the criteria that will get you into the 9 band. So yeah, there's no negative feedback I can give you, no mistakes that I can really correct. So yeah, I think the students or the people watching this interview can look at this session as something they can aspire to. This is what you need to do in order to get an 8.5 or a 9.
Wow, thanks a lot. That's a massive compliment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Your old students will be proud of you.
Yeah. Yeah.